quickly, just, if on the topic, what are your thoughts, and as Simple Energy, what are you doing to achieve the path to net zero?
So we at Simple are building electric vehicles to start with, right? We are reducing tailpipe emissions that happen with the IC engine scooters, IC engine vehicles to start with. At the same time, we are also working on making the manufacturing process of the electric vehicles also more greener. At the same time, in our office, we also are implementing a lot of things. How do we be dependent on the battery packs for our office use cases and all of that? So that is how we are working towards a greener and cleaner future, and taking the dependency away from paper, reducing the number of printouts that we take. That's, I believe that's everybody would be doing, right? And all of that we are trying to implement and making sure that we are dependent on renewable sources of energy, be it solar energy in our office also. We've implemented things that make sure that the energy consumptions are optimized to make sure whatever energy that we utilize is more of a clean energy or a green energy.
Okay. Coming to Suman Mishra from very legacy company, Mahindra, what you guys are doing at Mahindra Last Mile Mobility as well as at Mahindra Rise?
Yeah, I think we'll start with the big parent in this one. And first of all, it's great to be here today in Bangalore. Mahindra has taken a target to be carbon neutral by 2040. It is a voluntary target. And just over the last few years, we have had a 46% reduction in scope 1 and scope 2 emissions. So its sustainability and carbon neutrality is one of the biggest objectives by the managing director and chairman. You also know we have done a huge amount of investment in sustainable mobility, particularly in electric vehicles. We have also doubled the energy productivity, like it's 105% increase in just FY23. Beyond that, we do a lot of offsetting through tree plantations, etc. And coming back to the little company, which is my company, we are so proud that we have touched 1 lakh electric three-wheelers, of course, far and wide above anybody else in the industry. And it's around 4.5 million trees that have been saved through that. Another aspect of all this is localization, because when you talk well to wheel, right, everything comes into play. So localization at the group level, I believe, is about 90%. And of course, in EVs, it's not that high because of the cells and semiconductors, but aside from that, we are fully localized. So all these different dimensions is what we work on to ensure that we will be carbon neutral in the next, say, 15, 16 years. And I'm sure, like everything, we'll surpass those objectives and set new ones. Thank you.
Mr. Dalela, in your experience, you have been working with multiple corporations and individuals. What at ICAT level you are doing to create our target for target net zero?
ICAT is associated with the automotive industry in a big way. And the transportation sector contributes to close to about 25-30%. The numbers are varying from analysis to analysis, but that's the number. So the energy consumption of 25 to 30% of the total energy that we produce is going towards transportation. And within that zone, the good news is that people around in this room and also outside this room, since the last 7 years, have started to talk about EVs. I think that's the biggest transformation that we've got. That's the biggest success that we've got when the Ministry of Heavy Industries announced various schemes to subsidize, because initially these new technologies that come may not find cost viability, and therefore they need support, which the government has come forward to support. The first step was the FAME scheme that the government started, and thereafter the PLI scheme. So the first attempt was, let's develop that ecosystem, let's start to talk about EVs, that's it. So today, I think each one of us, when they are considering the mobility solutions for their homes or usages, they are considering an electric vehicle. 7 years back, it was not so. We never even thought about using an electric vehicle because primarily the technology was not getting matured, but now we have that ecosystem. And secondly, the new scheme which is coming up is the PLI scheme, again by the government. And here we are focusing more as a long-term solution to get the technology into India. So these are two things which in a very phased manner are coming into India, and I hope and I'm sure they will continue till the time the whole scheme of things and the whole ecosystem becomes self-sustainable.
Got it. Mr. Goyal, Toyota has been in forefront and talking about creating an ecosystem for path to net zero. And you guys are also working continuously on different technologies. At Toyota Corporation level, what you guys are doing in terms of to achieve the path to net zero?
Thank you. Thank you first for inviting here and giving this opportunity. I think we need to remember that before net zero in 2070, we have very important target, that is 2047 energy independence. So bringing net zero without having energy independence and localization doesn't make any meaning. And at the global Toyota also we think or feel, or our thinking is that we need to introduce technology what is most suitable for that country, not the technology which can be copied from other country. And second thing which we have to keep in mind is the customer. In India, we have the customers who are still not able to bear or not able to afford the car. And at that point of time, we have to think about the masses, not the niche customer. So from that point of view, our thinking is first to introduce technology which can take care of meet the energy requirement of the country. So we are always focusing on multiple energy pathway. Toyota has set up 2050 vision where we are targeting to achieve zero, not only into the tailpipe emission, but manufacturing end of life. So it is very important that we are able to achieve net zero with the localization and keeping customer in mind, because customer is king. What are the efforts which we have done in India so far is that currently, like in manufacturing side, we have already achieved 100% renewable energy in our plant. We don't use any other, we use completely renewable energy. Even we don't use zero groundwater other than drinking. So these are the points which we have to make sure for net zero. And as Madam also mentioned that well to wheel is important. It's not important that we have to only consider the tailpipe, but we have to make sure that end to end. And from that point of view, we are also in sync with the government and bringing alternate fuel, focusing long-term hydrogen, of course battery EV for the wherever it is possible. And then definitely the base technology which we are using is hybrid electric vehicle. Many times a question is asked in the conference, and today also there was a discussion, hybrid versus EV. I don't think that we have to talk one technology versus another technology. Hybrid technology is good to expand all the technology. Either you go to FC, BEV or any technology. So it is a base technology where you don't need infra. So based on that thinking, we are open for any technology which meets the country requirement, and definitely we will achieve net zero well before that target. So that is our thinking.
Now that you have bring up the debate between hybrid and EVs, I will just ask one question from Shreshth and will let him leave for. Give us 3 reasons why do you think EVs are the best technology to reduce emissions?
First of all, when we compare it to IC engine counterparts, to be very specific, motor and a battery is more efficient than an IC engine, right? When we talk about conversion from an energy to the power that is required to run a vehicle, it is more. And when even an electric vehicle is charged through a grid, the amount of carbon footprint it produces, because we all know that majority of the electricity that we use today is produced out of coal. Even if we consider that and compare it with an IC engine and the tailpipe emission that it does and the manufacturing process of it, it is still lesser than an IC counterpart. At the same time, when we talk about transforming to a cleaner source of energy, electric vehicles are the way And definitely, as sir rightly said, that hybrid vehicles and all of that, definitely that is there. But the exposure to the Indian market in terms of hybrid vehicles is not that much. Toyota has brought in a few vehicles, and I believe that there would be more companies bringing that out. But I still believe electric vehicles is the way to get to carbon neutrality in a faster or a better way and reducing carbon footprints.
I would come back to Mr. Suman Mishra. So what's your, I know you are refraining from this debate, but still, I will just want to know your 3 reasons. Why do you think EVs are the only solution to achieve net zero target?
I will make this discussion very
automotive
simple and talk about my category. Hybrid is not really an option for 3-wheelers. It's extremely expensive for that. But also, India is one of the fastest growing producers of green energy. So if you look at just India's renewable power today, it's around 23%, and it aims to be around 50% by 2030. So when the country has taken such enormous steps towards renewable energy, and the fact that is zero tailpipe emissions, and the increase in localization with the domestic value addition that the PLI scheme sort of mentioned, all of this will put us at a significant advantage, domestic technology, and better economic value for the customer. So certainly for my category, it makes a lot of sense. And the broader debate, I don't think is so much on EV versus hybrid, et cetera, et cetera. It's always been what to push in a country where there are maybe limited financial resources, and you have to make a choice to enable concerted investment. If many OEMs invest in electrification, then only it will localize, right? If we all scatter everything all over the place, then it is going to be quite difficult. So there are a lot of experts and PhDs who will give you the detailed thing, but from me, from an economic perspective, from a country perspective, from where we are today, where we have fast growing in electrification and renewable energy, this makes a lot of sense.
Mr. Saurabh, let's talk about whole auto industry, and from your point of view and from ICAT point of view, what is the technology roadmap in terms of hybrid, alternate fuels, EVs? Which is the right solution for India, or all of them go hand in hand?
A complicated question, but then I think everything can be handled if we focus on the basics. I still say that if somebody could create a fossil fuel engine with least amount of CO2, which is actually produced by electrical machine, it's okay, it's fine. So we are all in the engineering field, and we leave everything to innovative ideas, and that's how the world should be actually. So we are not here to say that who's better and which technology is better. I would partially agree with my friend Suman over here, because it's a journey. When you are going towards reduction of CO2, it's a journey. And if the journey has to be fast, it has to be assisted by the government or certain things which are helping the economics. Because if they don't exist, then the journey will get slower, that's all, number one. Number two, if you look at the transportation application, there are 2 kinds of movement that we do. One is steady state, which is like a highway, and other is a transient, which is like a traffic jam or a red light. You go from 0 to 30, again brake. You go again from 0 to 15, you again brake. Most of the energy is wasted over here. Now, if you can use this energy wastage and convert it into a usable energy, again, innovation at its top, then why not? It's fine. So anything is good, to answer your question, till the time it's reducing CO2, till the time it's innovative. Because electrical energy is also somewhere down the line having a little bit of carbon footprint, but the advantage of electric is that the transient operations are much more efficient. The efficiency of electrical systems are much higher than a fossil fuel engine. But at the same time, if somebody here gets an idea to create a fossil fuel engine with 80% efficiency, why not? What's wrong with that? So let it be with the innovation rather than we deciding who's better and why. Why should we do that?
Thank you. But everything comes back to economic viability of these solutions, right? Not just by on the cost of acquisition of vehicles, but also from the point of view producing it, innovating, research and development. So, Mr. Jitendra, would you like to put some thoughts, because you are working, Toyota is working on multiple technologies like hydrogen, hybrids, and EVs, of course.
Yeah, Deepanshu, as you correctly told, one thing is, I think it is a myth if we say that one technology is the best solution. It's a myth. In today's world, even our child, we don't know what career he is going to take tomorrow. In the complex world of technology, how can you decide which technology will come? And finally, it will depend definitely on the economies also. Which energy in India we can produce cheapest without any inconvenience to customer, which is affordable, that technology will win. Today there is a talk about ethanol. There is a talk about CNG is already there. There is a talk about a lot of things are happening on hydrogen. Of course, we have found lithium reserves in Kashmir and Rajasthan. You suppose that lithium reserves we are able to take out at the low prices and we are raw material independent, definitely India may go for more, it may be affordable. But it may so happen that technology may be there for 3 years and 5 years after there will be different technology. So as you told that economies and collaboration is going to be the deciding factor that which technology will be used where. I don't think that one technology can be used for all solutions, especially a country like India. There are all trucks, heavy trucks. Definitely hydrogen is best solution. There are small cars in city. Definitely BEV is the best solution. There are the customers who want to go for long drive. Definitely hybrids are better solution, or ethanol is one of the solution. So I think we need not to pinpoint that this is the technology India is going to use. We have to keep ourselves open. The way the energy producer can produce the energy at the optimum cost, that may be the best solution for different categories, is what we think.
So as you mentioned, there are heavy trucks, there are different kind of applications. One application is about the last mile mobility. Someone would like to give your perspective, how you have, with the help of EVs, have reduced the carbon emissions in the last mile mobility in particularly.
Yeah, I mean, as he also mentioned, he also mentioned that, the transient nature of the last mile, it's really start and stop and go, right? And it is very short distances. All of these necessarily make electric the choice for today. I don't know, 20 years from now, there'll be some other technology, we'll all be may not be us, but some other people will be sitting and debating. But the choice for today, given what we have, this is the technology, which I think there is no debate in the industry. There are challenges here, which we need to resolve to make mass adoption. Let's say it's hardly 5-6% electrified in the passenger segment and 10% maybe in the cargo segment. This needs to go to 50%. There are multiple things we will need to solve for. In this case, it is easy because you know the tech, and the moment you move to the tech, it just becomes sustainable, right? The few things that we are doing additionally is preparing for the return of the batteries. This is very important because you have to close the loop. If we don't think about it holistically as a cycle, then for 4-5 years from now, we will sit on a big pile of batteries. So as one of the leaders in this segment, we are working with various companies to figure out how to best close the loop. Of course, the standards, the BWR standards, etc., that have been notified, we are working on that. We also would love to have a reuse use case for batteries. This is very important, that you need to, when they come back and they go past the automotive application, they should be used for some other stationary storage application. But in order to do that, you need to have a lot more education and awareness of the customer so he takes care of the battery. So all of these dimensions, one is of course to just scale it up through whatever measures, financing, policy measures, charging solutions, all of those things. But second, to close the loop. So we are working, and we also have a set of ecosystems and partnerships that we work with multiple players on all the different facets. So my sense is you have to take a full holistic view. And as one of the leading OEMs in this space, that's what we are trying to do at least. And hopefully all of this will come together and we'll be in a good space.
Correct. Mr. Saurabh, from the ICAT point of view, how challenging it on the testing and validation front, because there are different technologies, different kind of products, and newer applications are happening every now and then. Is ICAT prepared for that? Because technology is changing every day.
Oh, well, to answer your question, it is a straight yes, but then at the same time, there are a lot of complexities. What I mean to say is that a good ecosystem is one in which the technology is ahead of creating standards compared to creating standards. Standards would follow once the technology is there. And typically, when it comes to certification, business, and approvals, we go by the standards. So the good news is that first the technology would come, and then the standards would come. Very rarely it would have happened the other way around, which is good, because we leaving room for innovation, as I kind of stressed in my previous question also. So we are geared up and we are prepared to test and certify all the electrical components and electrical vehicles. But going forward, as I can see, that this journey will be more complicated than the fossil fuel journey for a couple of reasons. One is that this particular technology has a very serious downside. So when I say this, imagine when a fossil fuel engine has a problem. The worst thing that can happen is that it seizes, it stops to function, nothing happens. If the manufacturing inconsistencies are huge, then probably there would be some peak powers going up and down more than a percentage of tolerance. That's the worst that can happen. But if the same thing goes into an electrical architecture, the downside is very serious because it's fire. If you have loose wires, if you have loose connections, it's nothing less than a fire, unfortunate. And therefore, the standards and the certification process is actually going to get more and more complicated because the downside is big. And people might think that, because of the new technology, because of so many people getting into this, there are unnecessary standards into this particular approval process, but they have a purpose. The COP process of electrical can get more complicated because one of the major reasons of fire is coming out to be as a manufacturing inconsistencies. So there are certain vehicles which are produced very well, very rightly, but the quality systems are such that some of the machines would have loose connections. And loose connection was never an issue in a fossil fuel engine. But here it's a very big thing because it's going to result into a fire. So therefore, the journey is going to be complex. We as an organization are geared up, but our contributions into making standards for this is pretty much complicated, which is going on right now.
While you touch upon the manufacturing inconsistencies or because of fire and all, I would like to understand from Suman about the recycling of EV batteries, because that is also one of the most important topic to talk about in terms of when we talk about creating the path towards net zero.
I mean, it's quite nascent in India right now because the batteries have not yet come back, but there are actually quite a few good startups. You may know that it is very much subject to what is it in the cathode, right? Whether it is a NMC or it is a LFP application. So the other part, which is graphite, we yet have to find a good viable solution around that, but it is mostly it's just discarded or burned or something. So in India right now, we have seen that some lithium recycling has started coming. Some good, well-funded startups have come in. We are also partnering with some global players to set up shop here who are working on this. And I believe that when this one is maturing, by the time in the next couple of years, we'll start seeing large-scale companies going in and investing in the same, right? I think Tata is doing some work, and perhaps we will soon follow. So That's the capacity of the recycling is an issue today. It is small scale setups by a lot of small startups. So we are just figuring out which are the large players and how do we work with them to scale up this aspect.
Mr. Jitendra, your take on this, because you have hybrid batteries as well, and hybrid vehicles we are already seeing, and they are running on road right now. And what is your take on battery recycling as well as overall technology mix? Because you head the product and design development, so what are your thoughts initially and things like that?
So definitely battery recycling is very important part, and that's what the main point here is that it is not only government incentive which can promote any technology. We have some ecosystem already available, and we have to move to different technology. For that, there is a huge stakeholders are there to whom we have to take along with us. So that is battery is very, very important point from that point of view. Of course, how the raw material is procured, how the supply chain is set up. So we have to make sure that we are mature to change the ecosystem rather than just bring and introduce technology in the country. So yes, but it has to go parallelly, hand in hand. So each technology, whichever we use, we have to make sure that this kind of recycling system and everything we take care beforehand.
Mr. Saurabh, at ICAT level, are you working on some standards or working with government to actually take care of battery recycling? Because as Suman mentioned, we are at a nascent stage right now, but 4 years, 5 years down the line, we will have an issue that has to be resolved.
Well, yes, we are working towards standards, very nascent stage right now. And, but then, as you rightly mentioned, 4 or 5 years from today, this is going to be a big topic of discussions. So we are talking right now, creating an ecosystem for net zero, but then we would be then talking about creating an ecosystem, how to handle the wastage of the batteries, which is absolutely the right thing to do. But we are creating standards to answer your question.
You would like to add something? Okay. Okay. So with that, we bring the panel discussion to close. Any questions in the house for the panelist?
Good afternoon. Thank you for the talks. I am Ajit from ARAI. I just wanted to understand how for quantification of any circularity, we use life cycle analysis as a tool. So how serious is the players in carrying out life cycle analysis and coming out like what is the kind of emissions happening with their product process or the entire cradle to grade? Any thoughts on that?
I think ICAT should answer.
So ARI is asking a question to ICAT. Well, Ajit, me and you are on the same boat. We are creating standards right now. And also it would depend, your specific answer would depend on the kind of battery that is going to crop up in the days to come. Right now, I can only answer this much because even we are not too much, I would say, aware, or we are not too much clear on which direction the battery technology is going to go finally.
We'll take one more question.
Hi, this is Abhishek. So hitting on the path through net zero, in my opinion, the best or the minimum reluctance path would be to get Aladdin's carpet back to reality. But that is my opinion. So I would like to hit on the aspect of emissions and efficiency. So Toyota, in my sense, is trying hard, out of the EV section on focusing on different fuels and all these things. So, sir, what is the efficiency that we can see in your future that Toyota would bring to the market?
See, efficiency for each powertrain, we have to keep on working to improve continuously. Like whatever technology we are working at, either it is hybrid electric vehicle or battery or FC, from past 2 decades, for each component, there are 3 core components like in electrified motor and controller and battery. Every area we are working to improve the efficiency, reduce the size. So it has to continuous, means there is no one answer which I can give you that this is the number 60, 70 or something. So each component wise, we have to keep on improving the efficiency, then only we can achieve the best combination of this powertrain and can give the best result at the affordable cost. So I'm not sure if I could answer, but that much only I can speak.
Thank you. I just want to touch about this because it's an important piece. In the developed countries, if you would just go through the data, the highest energy consumption is primarily the energy losses, the energy wastage, which is the highest consumer of energy. And this brings to a very important part of this particular subject that is written behind me. And that is that as and as the conveniences are increasing, the CO2 is increasing. That's the reason why developed countries have more CO2 than the developing countries. Just ask this question, each one of you can ask this question. How was that our parents could live on a 165-liter refrigerator and we want a 400 liters refrigerator? Families have got small and the food that we take is much lesser because we've got more health conscious. Still, we need bigger refrigerators. Why is it that we don't want to walk 100-meter away market and still want a car, and then we are talking EV or a ethanol or a methanol or a fossil fuel just because of that 100-meter distance? So I think the biggest answer to this question is that human consciousness. We have to be conscious. Things are available. Convenience is available right on a press of a button. How we want to use should be our own consciousness, whether it really makes sense to use that technology. If I were to request one of you to click a picture right now, I bet you that he or she is going to click 3 pictures, tuck, tuck, tuck. 30 years back, 40 years back, there was just 36 snap roll, just one picture. If you smiled, you're good luck. If you didn't smile, you're bad luck. So the technology is available. Things are available as the conveniences are increasing. If we don't exercise our consciousness, it's pointless talking about this creating ecosystem because we are the person from which the whole thing starts. So I hope I have talked about the efficiency well.